I inherited Grandpa's house, but my family sold it, unaware of his backup plan. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. The title officer blinks at her monitor, then at me, like I'm a glitch in the system. Behind her, a framed poster says "Trust the Process" in corporate teal. On the other side of the glass wall, a man in a crisp blazer, Dylan, leans back in a chair like he owns the building. "I'm sorry," the officer says, voice careful. "You're not the seller on record." I grip the strap of my tote so hard my knuckles sting. My tote still smells faintly of library paste and old paper. I came straight from work, still wearing my badge that says Nora Hart, City Library. I thought I was here to stop a sale. I didn't expect to hear I wasn't even part of it. Dylan's smile doesn't reach his eyes. "It's a misunderstanding," he says, smooth as glossy brochures. "Nora's emotional right now." "Don't," I whisper, because my throat is too tight for anything else. The officer swivels the monitor a few inches so I can see. On the screen is Grandpa Elias's address, our craftsman on Juniper Street, listed under a seller name that makes my stomach tilt. Sabrina Colton. My aunt. Not me. Not Grandpa's estate. Just her. That can't be right, I say. "The will. We can only go by recorded documents," the officer replies. "There's a power of attorney on file." "A power of attorney?" My voice cracks. "He's dead." Dylan's phone buzzes, and he glances down, thumbs tapping like he's sending a casual grocery list. He doesn't look worried. That's what scares me. I picture the house, the cedar smell that soaked into Grandpa's flannel shirts, the creak on the third stair he always warned me about, the kitchen clock that never kept time but always kept us company. I picture it filled with strangers, my grandfather's coffee mug tossed in a cardboard box like junk. I came with one folder, too thin to matter. Inside is the last thing Grandpa ever handed me, sealed in an envelope and marked, "Only if they try." Grandpa used to say deeds were like stories. Who wrote them mattered, and so did the fine print. When I was 16, he made me sit at this same kitchen table and read a warranty deed out loud, just to prove I could. Then the title officer turned the screen toward me, and my blood froze. 2 weeks earlier, the house still felt like Grandpa Elias was just in the next room, humming off-key to the radio. After the funeral, I went there alone because I couldn't breathe in my apartment without hearing condolence voices in my head. Juniper Street greeted me the way it always did. Paint peeling like sunburn, porch swing squeaking a complaint, and that cedar and coffee smell that lived in the walls. Grandpa had a ritual for everything. Boots by the door, keys in the ceramic bowl, one soft knock on the pantry door so the house knows you're home. I still did it, even though it made my eyes burn. When I was little, I'd perch on the counter while he made grilled cheese and told me stories about the house. "Not ghosts, paper ghosts. People think stealing is loud," he'd say, flipping the sandwich. "But the worst theft is quiet. A signature, a stamp, a smile." Back then, Aunt Sabrina laughed at him. She wore grief like a designer scarf, draped neatly, never wrinkled. "Elias, you watch too much court TV," she'd tease. "Let the kids live." Dylan was the newer accessory. He wasn't her kid, technically, my cousin through marriages and divorces, but he fit her like a tailored suit. He always had a business card, always had a great opportunity, always had his hand out with the friendliness of a waiter expecting a tip. After Grandpa got sick, Sabrina started helping, dropping off soup, paying a bill, offering to handle paperwork. She'd sigh dramatically and say, "You know, Nora, you're so busy with that little library job." Like my life was a hobby. Grandpa never snapped at her. He just got quieter. He started keeping his mail in a locked drawer and taking me on slow walks around the block, pointing at houses like he was sightseeing. "Promise me something," he told me the last time he was strong enough to climb the porch steps. "If anyone rushes you, you stop. If anyone says it's just a form, you read it twice." I thought he meant after he died, I'd be sad and stupid. I didn't realize he meant I'd be hunted. The day after the funeral, I found a brass key taped under his desk drawer. The probate meeting smells like burnt coffee and carpet cleaner. Attorney Patel sits across from me in a gray suit that looks like it's seen 1,000 families fall apart. Sabrina sits beside Dylan, close enough that their knees touch, both of them holding paper cups like props. Patel clears her throat. "Elias Hart's will is straightforward. The personal property is divided per the attached list. The real property at 114 Juniper Street is devised to Nora Hart. For a second, everything goes quiet, like the building itself is listening. My heart lifts and breaks at the same time. I picture Grandpa's handwriting on the list he kept in the kitchen drawer. Nora, house. Like a promise made in ink. Sabrina's mouth forms a smile. It's quick, practiced. That's generous, she says, as if Grandpa is a client who tipped well. Dylan nods. Juniper's a cute place. Needs work, though. Taxes, repairs, insurance. That's a lot for one person. It's mine, I say, and my voice comes out sharper than I intend. Patel looks at me kindly. There will be a probate process, but yes, the intent is clear. Sabrina tilts her head, pity polished to a shine. Sweetheart, nobody's saying you can't keep it. We're saying you shouldn't. Elias wasn't thinking clearly at the end. I snap. He was more clear than anyone. Dylan leans forward, palms open. Okay. No fighting. Let's be practical. We can list it right away and split the proceeds fairly. You can take your cut and start fresh. Maybe go back to school, get a real salary. I feel heat crawl up my neck. Grandpa's house reduced to proceeds. My grief repackaged into practical. I don't want a cut, I say. I want the house. Sabrina sighs loudly, as if I'm making her day harder. Then sign the estate authorization so we can pay the bills while it's in your name. It's temporary. Patel slides a packet toward me. These are standard forms, she says, but you should read every page. Sabrina's manicured finger taps the signature line. We can take care of everything if you just trust us. That night, an email arrived titled, Escrow Welcome Letter. I opened the escrow email at my kitchen table, still wearing black from the funeral like it's armor. The message is cheerful in a way that makes me nauseous. Congratulations on your new transaction. It says. Under that, the property address. Under that, a seller, Sabrina Colton. And then, like a punchline, seller's representative, Dylan Colton, licensed realtor. My hands start shaking so badly I have to set my phone down. There's an attachment, a scanned authorization with a signature that looks like mine if you squint and don't know me. I call Dylan. He answers on the second ring, breathless, like he's mid-laugh with someone else. Hey, Nora. Everything okay? No, I say. Why is escrow emailing me about Grandpa's house? A pause. The kind that tells you someone is choosing a lie. It's not a sale, he says finally. It's prep. Title work. You know, so you're protected. Then why does it say seller? Words, he says, and I can't hear the smile. Don't spiral. Did you sign something for me? Of course not. Another pause. Look, Sabrina's trying to help. You're grieving. You're not thinking straight. I stare at the attachment again. The notarization stamp has a date, 3 days after Grandpa died. That's impossible, I whisper. Nothing's impossible, Dylan says softly, like advice. If you fight us, you'll just waste money. Probate is ugly. I hang up and drive to Juniper Street, tires humming too loud on the wet pavement. The porch swing moves in the wind like it's waiting for someone. On the lawn, planted into Grandpa's flower bed, is a shiny stake with a laminated flyer. Open house this Sunday. Cash offers encouraged. My mouth goes dry. I walk closer, and under the flyer is the listing agent's name, Dylan, and the owner line reads, Sabrina. A neighbor I've waved at for years steps onto her porch, arms folded. Honey, she calls. Your cousin's been coming by with buyers. Said you agreed. I didn't, I say, and the words taste like metal. Nobody asked me. She gives me a look that's half pity, half warning. Well, they had keys. They were inside yesterday, measuring windows. Keys. Grandpa's keys never left his bowl. Unless someone took them. A for sale sign went up before sunrise, and my name was on it. I try my key anyway. It slides in, turns, and stops, like it hits a wall that wasn't there last week. I jiggle it, heart pounding, then press my forehead against the door. Please, I whisper, as if the house can hear me. From inside, I hear footsteps. Not Grandpa's slow shuffle. Faster. A man's voice. Is that her? The door opens a crack. A stranger in a polo shirt looks me up and down like I'm a stain. Behind him, I see my grandfather's hallway runner rolled halfway up, as if someone already started packing. Can I help you? He asks. This is my grandfather's house, I say. I'm family. He glances over his shoulder. Dylan said you might show up. He told us not to let you in. My chest tightens. Who are you? Inspector, he says, then shrugs like it's normal. We're doing measurements for renovation estimates. Owner's instructions. Owner. Like Grandpa never existed. I step forward, and the door closes harder. A deadbolt clicks that sounds like a gunshot in my ears. I call Sabrina. She answers like she's been waiting. Nora, she sings, too sweet. Are you causing a scene at my property? Your property? My voice breaks. You changed the locks. You left me no choice, she says, and the sweetness drops. You're unstable right now. Everyone saw you at the funeral, crying, shaking. You can't manage a house. I'm grieving, I snap. You're stealing. A sharp inhale. Watch your mouth. Dylan says you threatened him. I didn't. If you keep this up, she cuts in, I'll get an order. I'll protect myself from you. And I'll tell the court exactly how erratic you've been. The word erratic sticks in my throat. I picture a judge hearing it. I picture my aunt's tearful performance. I drive to the precinct because I don't know what else to do. I sit in a plastic chair under fluorescent lights, clutching the wool copy like a life raft. When the officer finally steps out, he looks tired. Ma'am, he says, this is civil. Do you have paperwork? I hand him Grandpa's will. He flips through it, frowning. It says you inherit, he admits, but ownership isn't recorded yet. I stare at him, feeling the floor tilt, and realize how little grief protects you. The police officer asked if I had proof the house was mine. That night, I sleep on my own couch, but it doesn't feel like my life. Every time I close my eyes, I hear the deadbolt clicking and Sabrina saying my property like it's a victory chant. I spread papers on my coffee table, Grandpa's will, the escrow email, screenshots of Dylan's listing. My brain keeps trying to make it all a misunderstanding, because the alternative is that my family saw my grief as an opening. I zoom in on the scanned authorization signature. The curve of the N is wrong. Mine loops back like a little hook because my third-grade teacher made us practice cursive like it mattered. This N is stiff, like someone drew it while looking at a sample. Then I notice something else, the notary stamp. It's from a place across town I've never been. And the date is after the obituary ran. I call Attorney Patel the next morning. It takes 3 tries before my voice stops shaking enough to sound adult. I'm sorry, I say, when she answers. It's Nora Hart, from the will reading. I think something's wrong. There's a beat of silence, then the calm tone that made me feel safe in her office. Tell me what happened. I explain the locks, the escrow email, the owner name. I expect skepticism. Instead, Patel says, forward me everything. And do not sign anything else. Can they really sell it without me? I ask. They can try, she says. People try all kinds of things when property is involved. We need to see what's recorded. Recorded. The word lands heavy. Grandpa said the worst theft is quiet. At lunch, I go to the county recorder's office, the kind of building that looks like it hates joy. A clerk behind a glass window asks for the address and my ID. My palms sweat as she types. Here we go, she says, and slides printed pages under the slot. I scan the title history. A deed from decades ago. A mortgage release. Then, near the bottom, a document number that shouldn't exist. Durable power of attorney. Sabrina Colton, agent. I flip the page over, heart hammering, searching for a filing date. The notarization date matched the day Grandpa died, down to the hour. I stand at the clerk's counter like I'm about to faint, and she doesn't even look surprised. She sees people implode over paper every day. That POA shouldn't be valid if the principal is deceased, I say. Right? She shrugs. Recording doesn't mean it's valid. Recording means someone paid a fee and filed it. Validity is a court question. Can I get a copy? She prints it and staples it like it's a grocery receipt. On the first page, Grandpa's name is spelled correctly. His address is correct. The signature is close. Close enough that a stranger might accept it. But the witness line is blank, and the notary block is smeared like someone pressed too hard. I take photos and send them to Patel from the parking lot. She calls within minutes. This is sloppy, she says, calm suddenly edged. And the date is a problem. People can't notarize a signature if the signer is dead. So it's fraud. It looks like it, she says. We need to move fast. Do you have any idea where the original was signed? No, I admit. Grandpa barely left the house at the end. Then someone came to him, Patel says. Or someone didn't. She tells me to request the recording receipt and submit her information. The clerk gives me another page. It lists Dylan's brokerage as the submitting party. My stomach flips. Of course it does. I drive to the title company listed on the escrow email because my anger needs somewhere to go. A receptionist smiles until I say, "I'm Nora Hart, 114 Juniper. Who authorized this transaction?" Her smile falters. She disappears, then returns with the title officer. "We were told the seller had full authority," she says. "We received a recorded POA and an authorization. From my aunt," I say. "Filed after my grandfather died." Her eyes flick down. The file was marked urgent. Urgent by who? She hesitates. The agent. Dylan. Patel texts me a list. Notary commission number, witness names, where it was signed. I look up the notary stamp on my phone. Sitting in my car, hands trembling. When I typed the notary's license number, the state database returned a suspension. Patel meets me in her office after hours, lights dimmed, like we're conspiring. She sets my photos beside the printed POA and pulls out a yellow legal pad. "First," she says, "a durable POA ends at death. They cannot legally use it after Elias passed." "Then why is escrow acting like it's fine?" I ask. "Because escrow isn't a court," Patel replies. "And because people count on you being too sad to fight." She circles the notary block. "Second, this notary's commission is suspended. That doesn't automatically invalidate the document, but it's a bright red flag." My stomach twists. "So how did they file it?" Patel points at the recorder receipt. "They walked it in, paid the fee, and the recorder recorded it. No one checks the story. They check the format." I think of Grandpa's words, paper ghosts, and suddenly I hate paper. Patel makes me breathe, then hands me a form. "We request the notary journal entry. If this notary followed any rules, there's a log. Who appeared, what ID was used, where it happened. And if there isn't, then we have a stronger fraud claim," she says. "But we still need to stop closing." She calls the title company while I sit there, listening to her voice go crisp and polite. "This transaction is disputed," she says. "The alleged principal is deceased. You are on notice." After she hangs up, she pulls up the preliminary settlement statement the title officer emailed. Numbers fill the screen like a language designed to hide intention. Sale price, $410,000. Estimated repairs, $0. Seller proceeds, $298,114. 62. A line item catches my eye. Broker commission, Dylan Colton, $24,600. Another, wire to Sabrina Colton, account ending 7713. Another, expedite fee. "They're rushing," Patel says. "Rushing is how fraud survives." My phone buzzes with a new email from Dylan. "Nora, don't make this ugly. Sabrina's done so much for you." I laugh once, sharp and humorless. "She changed the locks." Patel's eyes narrow. "Who was the buyer?" She scrolls. "Juniper Development, LLC. I picture bulldozers. I picture Grandpa's porch swing in a dumpster." At the bottom of the file, a note read, "Seller insists on closing before probate." The brass key under Grandpa's desk drawer keeps scratching at my brain like an itch. The next morning, I take it to the bank Grandpa used, an old brick building that still smells like paper and cologne. "I think my grandfather left me a safe deposit box," I tell the teller. "Key?" she asks. I hold up the brass. "Death certificate and proof you're an heir," she says, already reaching for forms. An hour later, I'm in a small room with a metal drawer on the table. My hands hover over it. Part of me expects it to be empty, because Sabrina has a way of taking the air out of rooms. It isn't empty. My fingers smell like cedar after touching his notebook, and I hate how comforting that is. It feels like he's still guiding my hands, keeping me from tipping into panic. Inside is a thick manila envelope, sealed with clear tape. Grandpa's handwriting runs across the front. "Nora. Only if they try to sell Juniper." Under it is another envelope labeled, "For attorney fees. Do not feel guilty." There's also a tiny notebook with dates and document numbers, written so neatly it looks typed, and a flash drive taped to the bottom. I open the first envelope and my eyes blur immediately. Grandpa didn't write a goodbye. He wrote instructions. He tells me he recorded a transfer on death deed months ago, naming me as beneficiary, so the house would pass outside probate. He lists the recording number, and the exact counter window at the recorder's office where I can request a certified copy. Then comes the part that makes my throat tighten. He expected Sabrina and Dylan to try something before the paperwork caught up, because greed hates waiting. The second envelope holds a cashier's check payable to attorney Patel's firm, enough to make my stomach drop, and a note. If you need to fight, don't fight alone. At home, I plug in the flash drive. Grandpa appears on my screen at the Juniper kitchen table, looking straight into the camera. If you're watching this, he says softly, then they tried. Grandpa's letter ended with one line. If they sell, the house sells them. Sabrina texts me like nothing happened. Family dinner tonight. We should talk like adults. The audacity of it makes my hands shake. But Patel says something that sticks. Fraudsters get sloppy when they think they're winning. So I go. Sabrina's dining room is staged grief. Candles, framed photos of Grandpa, a casserole nobody eats. Dylan sits at the table in a button-down, sleeves rolled up like he's here to work things out. He stands when I enter, too friendly. Nora, he says. Good. We can end this. Sabrina touches my arm like she's comforting me. Sweetheart, you've been through so much. We don't want you drowning in responsibility. I want my keys, I say. Dylan sighs. This isn't about keys. It's about reality. The house needs work. Taxes alone. I'm not selling, I repeat. Sabrina's smile tightens. Then why are you calling title companies and accusing us of crimes? My stomach drops. They know. Dylan leans closer, voice low. You don't want people thinking you're unstable, Nora. Probate judges don't love drama. I slide my phone into my pocket and tap record without looking. My heart hammers so loud I'm sure they can hear it. Sabrina's voice turns syrupy. If you sign a simple ratification, this all goes away. We'll give you a portion. Enough to start over. Isn't that what Elias would want? For you to be taken care of? Grandpa's video flashes in my mind. If you're watching this, then they tried. My throat burns. I'm already taken care of, I say, and I see Dylan's eyes flick, just once, to my tote bag, where the envelopes are hidden. Dylan reaches under a folder and pulls out a single page, sliding it across the table. Just sign this, he says. It confirms you consented. I look down. The header reads Seller Affidavit. Under it, in bold, a sentence jumps out. No other deed, transfer on death instrument, or beneficiary designation exists. My hands go cold, because Grandpa's backup plan is exactly that. Dylan slid a pen toward me and whispered, just sign, or lose everything. I don't touch the pen. I stare at the affidavit until the words blur. Then I stand so fast my chair scrapes the floor. No, I say. I'm not signing away Grandpa. Sabrina's face hardens, grief mask dropped. Then you leave us no choice. I walk out before I say something that would make the recording useless. At Patel's office, I dump everything on her desk. The envelopes, the recorder printouts, the escrow statement, and the audio file from my pocket. Patel listens with her eyes half closed, like she's taking in music, not threats. When Dylan's whisper plays, just sign, or lose everything, Patel opens her eyes. Good, she says quietly. They know about the TOD deed, and they try to make you disclaim it. My stomach lurches. So what do? We activate what your grandfather set up, Patel says. And we make sure they lie in front of the people who matter. She sends me back to the recorder's office with Grandpa's notebook. I request the certified copy of the transfer on death deed using the recording number he wrote, hands trembling as if the clerk might call Sabrina. The certified copy comes with a raised seal and a date stamp from months ago. Grandpa didn't just plan, he executed. Back at Patel's office, she drafts 2 documents in plain language, an affidavit of death for Elias Hart, and a notice of disputed title stating that any attempted conveyance by Sabrina or Dylan is unauthorized and potentially fraudulent. She explains each term as she writes. Title companies hate uncertainty, she says. We give them uncertainty on paper. She emails the title officer, attaching the TOD deed, the death affidavit, and a formal demand to halt closing. She copies the buyer's representative listed on the settlement statement. Then she looks at me. Now we set a meeting. They'll come because they think they can talk their way out. We invite the title manager and the buyer's counsel, and we let them explain the POA. My phone buzzes with Dylan's text. Last chance. Sign tonight, or we close without you. Patel doesn't flinch. She logs into the county e-recording portal, uploads our filings, and hovers her cursor over the final button. Patel pressed send, and the county portal flashed, recording accepted. The title company conference room is bright and cold. Patel sits beside me with her laptop open. Sabrina arrives in pearls and a sympathy smile. Dylan follows with a leather portfolio and that salesman calm. The title manager nods at the buyer's representative. Before we close, she says, I need to understand who has authority to sell 114 Juniper. Dylan spreads his hands. We have a recorded power of attorney. Nora's just overwhelmed. Patel clicks, and a document stamped certified copy fills the screen. This is the transfer on death deed Elias Hart recorded on May 3rd, Patel says. It names Nora Hart as beneficiary. On his death, title passed to her by law. Sabrina's smile snaps. He didn't mean that. Patel clicks again. The county receipt, then the POA recording. This POA was notarized and recorded after Mr. Hart's death. A POA ends at death. Using it after is invalid. Dylan laughs like it's a discussion panel. You can't prove. Patel pulls up the notary commission status. One word sits there like a verdict. Suspended. The buyer's rep leans forward. So the seller doesn't own the property? We can't insure this title, the manager says. We can't close. Sabrina's cheeks flare. We have a contract and a disputed chain of title, the manager replies. That stops everything. Patel plays the audio from my pocket. Dylan's whisper fills the room. Just sign or lose everything. Dylan's eyes flash. That's out of context. Patel clicks again. Grandpa's video appears. Him at the Juniper kitchen table, steady and tired. If you're watching this, Elias says softly. Then they tried. Sabrina's voice turns ugly. Turn it off. Patel slides Grandpa's letter across the table. He authorized immediate reporting and a recorded dispute notice if anyone attempted an unauthorized sale. That notice is filed, and your underwriter is being notified. Any funds will be frozen pending investigation. The title manager stands. This transaction is halted. Security will escort anyone who refuses to leave. Sabrina lunged for the folder, and the title manager called security. Security doesn't escort Sabrina so much as guide her while she spits threats through clenched teeth. You're doing this to family, she hisses at me in the hallway. You're ruining us. Dylan doesn't look at me. He's staring at his phone, typing fast, like he can text his way out of consequences. The buyer's representative storms past all of us, muttering about breach, fraud, and I'm calling my attorneys. By the time I'm back in my car, Patel's already emailing. Title is sending this to their underwriter and fraud unit, she writes. We should assume complaints will be filed. My body is buzzing, like I drank a gallon of coffee. I call out sick from the library, then stare at my ceiling and feel guilty for existing. Grief and adrenaline are a nasty cocktail. 2 days later, Patel forwards me a formal notice. The title company has reported the suspicious POA and notarization to the state notary division. Dylan's brokerage wants a statement. Sabrina's lawyer sends a letter accusing me of interference with contract and emotional instability. I read that phrase again, emotional instability, and laugh until it turns into a sob. Patel keeps me grounded. They're trying to make you afraid, she says. Fear makes people sign. A detective calls me for a phone interview. He asks simple questions in a steady voice. When did Grandpa die? Did he ever mention a POA? Did Sabrina have access to his documents? I answer, and every answer feels like I'm choosing to make this real. Then Patel texts, your affidavit of death and TOD deed are now in the title chain. You're the record owner. Let's get you back inside. We meet at Juniper Street with a locksmith and a uniformed officer standing nearby in case it turns loud. The locksmith drills out the deadbolt while I stare at the porch swing, trying not to shake. When the door finally opens, the cedar smell hits me so hard I almost buckle. But the house doesn't feel like home. It feels rummaged. Drawers half open. Grandpa's hallway runner missing. A stack of staging flyers on the counter. I walk into the kitchen and stop cold. On the kitchen table, someone had left Grandpa's notebook open to my name. Grandpa's notebook isn't a diary. It's a ledger of suspicion. Dates. Names. Little notes in the margin. Sabrina asked about deed again. Dylan offered cash buyer. Mail missing from box. Then, near the end, a page titled in block letters, if they try. Under it, Grandpa wrote a checklist like he was planning a garden project, not defending his life's home. record TOD deed, keep copies at bank, set aside attorney fees, film statement, list document numbers, instruct Patel to file dispute notice. My throat tightens reading it. Part of me feels loved. Part of me feels sick that he had to love me like this, like a shield. Sabrina calls that night, voice watery. Nora, please, she says. You don't understand what Dylan told me. He said it was legal. He said we were protecting the house from you, from your grief. My grief. I repeat, tasting the word like poison. I'm sorry, she says, and I can hear someone else breathing in the background. Dylan, if you drop this, we can talk. We can be family again. Family, the word they used while changing locks. Patel tells me not to answer alone. She drafts a simple boundary letter. No contact except through counsel, return any removed property, and sign a stipulation acknowledging I'm the owner and they had no authority. She also includes a demand for reimbursement of my legal costs, paid from the proceeds they tried to steal. Dylan sends a text at 2:11 a.m. You think you won, but you'll regret humiliating us. Then, 10 minutes later, please. My license is on the line. Can we settle? I go back to work at the library with mascara I don't remember putting on. I shelve books and pretend my hands aren't still shaking. On my lunch break, I sit in my car and call a therapist for the first time in my life, because my chest won't unclench. At Juniper, I start small, change every lock, install cameras, open windows to let the house breathe. I knock once on the pantry door, like Grandpa taught me, and I swear the air shifts. Patel meets me at the kitchen table with the notebook and Grandpa's letter spread out like sacred texts. Then Patel showed me the final clause Grandpa wrote, and I went silent. The final clause is written in Grandpa's tidy block letters, like he wanted no one to misunderstand. If Sabrina or Dylan attempted to sell, transfer, or encumber the Juniper house, they forfeited every dollar he'd set aside for them, his small family piece bequest, and it would instead go to the City Library Foundation in my name. Grandpa even included a pre-addressed donation letter, already signed, like he'd been waiting to redirect their greed into something useful. I sit at the kitchen table and press my palms to the worn wood where he used to butter toast. I feel anger. I feel relief. Mostly, I feel seen. I don't get to choose whether prosecutors pursue fraud. That's bigger than me, but I do choose my boundaries. Sabrina's lawyer eventually emails a signed stipulation acknowledging I'm the owner and that the POA was improperly used. Dylan's brokerage suspends him pending investigation. The buyer walks away, furious, and I don't blame them. Sabrina never apologizes in a way that holds weight. Her sorry is always tied to what she lost. Dylan stops texting after Patel sends one final warning. Any contact goes straight to the detective. What surprises me is the grief still waiting underneath the adrenaline. When the legal noise quiets, I find myself standing in Grandpa's hallway at night, touching the wall like it might answer. I go to therapy. I learn that justice doesn't bring people back. It just stops the bleeding. I fix the third stair. I patch the porch rail. I hang a small framed photo of Grandpa in the kitchen, not as a shrine, but as a reminder of the kind of love that plans ahead. And I follow his last practical lesson, because it might save someone else. Don't sign anything rushed. Pull your property records yourself. Get certified copies. And if you're inheriting real estate, talk to an attorney before you talk to family. Last week, I mailed Grandpa's pre-signed donation to the Library Foundation. The check he left for attorney fees covered the fight, and the forfeited bequest funded new children's reading kits. Quiet revenge, the way he liked it.